The trenches hold the key to victory for the Falcons in week 6. Can the O-line hold up against the Washington Commanders front? And will this be a get-right game for the Falcons pass rush finally getting a sack?
You are Locked On Falcons, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everyone, to another illustrious episode of the Locked On Falcons podcast, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code in all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. So, guys, if you don't know me, I'm your very humble host, Aaron Freeman. Right, aka Mr. Drew, aka Sirius Black, all that stuff and more, right? And I want to give a special shout out to the everydayers that make this illustrious podcast their first listen or first watch. And all you got to do to become an everydayer is subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So, as always, to wrap up the week here on Locked On Falcons, we are joined by none other than Locked On Sports Atlanta, Jarvis Davis, who is the co-host alongside Tanisha Batiste and myself of the Locked On Falcons postcast, who is also, holding it down on the Atlanta, Georgia Braves football parties throughout the week.
Oh, yes, man. We partying all week, man. We're never working. We partying. Every week.
Of course, NFL Kickoff Live each and every Friday with Tanisha and Kyle Krabs. We'll plug that a little bit later in the show. But as we do here to wrap up the week, we talk with Jarvis about the upcoming matchup for the Atlanta Falcons. And of course, we got the Washington Commanders coming to town this weekend in week 6. And Jarvis, for you, what is so sort of key to victory? Or what is the thing that you'll be looking at heading into this matchup?
For me, man, it has to be the offensive line continue to stack good games. And this is going to be a test because we know what this Washington Commanders front is built like, right? And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I think that this offensive line has to be able to establish the run, man, because last week, can we expect Desmond Ridder to throw the ball 37 times and get a dub? I don't think Arthur Smith saw it that way, or the plan was for it to be that way. So I think that they need to establish themselves up front, be able to run the football. And we saw, and last time we saw the Washington Commanders, we saw the Chicago Bears, which was a god-awful offense, and it is so much stuff going on up there. And for them to come out and put up a 40-piece against the Washington Commanders, I really feel like there's some room for the Atlanta Falcons to be able to go out there and do that, right? And slang the rock as well. So I think that Desmond Ridder has to take advantage of this home cooking that he's been eating and taking and really showing himself, proving himself to be, a starting quarterback. And I think that it all starts this week again at Mercedes-Benz Stadium at 1:00.
Now, last week we talked about the offensive line needing kind of a get-right game against Houston because of the concerns we had with this Washington front, that if you couldn't figure it out last week, it was going to be tough for you to figure it out this week. Do you feel like you got that from the offensive line last week? Does that give you a little bit more confidence going into this game this week?
From a pass protection standpoint, yes. I think they did kind of get right because the way the Texans were playing against the run, it was almost as if Coach D'Amico Ryan said, y'all going to die after the game if y'all don't stop this run. Those guys were absolutely aggressive. I'm talking about every level, defensive line, the linebacker core, those guys were flying. Anytime Desmond Ridder act like he was about to hand the ball off, those dudes are flying up, and they were able to take advantage of that in the passing game. So, yes, I think from a pass protection standpoint, yes, I feel like they did get right. I think they kept Desmond Ridder clean, no sacks. And, he had a pretty doggone good game. So you can kind of see what he does with that really good pass protection. So I think that they're gonna have a task on their hands to be able to try to do that this week. But I do think that they did kind of get right, but I want to see a little bit more on that run game because, like, this is what you're gonna get. Like, teams are going to be selling out to stop the run, so you got to get used to this, and you got to be able to respond. And I don't think they necessarily responded from a run or a run blocking standpoint because many other times where they kind of got they were able to break off a couple runs as the game went along. But I want to see them from the jump. Like, hey, we know that they're going to be coming downhill, trying to stop this run game, so we got to be able to punch them back. Don't be like the Braves last night. Sorry, I had to. That was in my mind. I know, man. Like,
it's tough,
they
man.
better do something tonight, man. Please don't have me out here. Oh gosh. Yeah, but yeah, let's talk Falcons, man. Falcons. Yeah, Falcons. Yes. Run protection needs to be a little bit better. Pass pro. I'll give them a solid B.
Okay.
Solid B
Yeah.
last week.
I think last week's game, while not perfect for the excuse me, but while not perfect for the offensive line, was a step in the right direction, and hopefully they'll continue to make steps because it ain't going to get easy. All of a sudden, you got Washington this week, you got Tampa Bay the week after that, you got Tennessee the week after that. So it's just like this
Tampa
game
front is like.
This 3-game stretch is going to be like, hey, offensive line, we need you to come through these next couple of games because if you don't, then it's gonna be rough. So
yes.
We'll see if the offensive line can step up. We'll also see if the pass rush can have their get right game going up against a Washington offense that just loves to give up sacks to bad pass rushes. So we'll see if the Falcons can cash in on that, and we'll get into that, guys, as we continue today's Locked On Falcons. Guys, I want to tell you about Jase Medical, who provide the Jase case, which provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. And why do you need to stock up on antibiotics? Well, we got supply chain shortages, you got natural disasters, you got pandemics going to hit. I probably need some antibiotics right now. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. And, Jase Medical provides simple access to that by all you got to do is fill out a simple online form. You can get those potential life-saving medications sent directly to your door. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. You got to be more prepared now than ever. So save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using the code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com, promo code locked on. So guys, as we continue here on Locked On Falcons, I want to tell you about the Locked On NFL Kickoff Live. Jarvis knows a little something about this. He co-hosts that with Tanisha Batiste and, of course, Kyle Krabs. They're breaking down every game every Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live across the Locked On Network. If you're subscribed here on Locked On Falcons or Locked On Sports Atlanta, you get it automatically. It's just all the Locked On NFL channels. You're getting it Friday, 2 p.m. You're getting not only previews of the upcoming weekend's action, you're also getting, fantasy insights, betting tips, all that stuff. So check out Locked On NFL Kickoff Live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on any Locked On NFL YouTube channel. So, Jarvis, we talked about the offensive line having their get-right game. Falcons pass rush is tied for last place, I believe, in terms of sacks this year with the New York Giants. With 5 sacks, and it's like, hey, Chicago was like tied for last place with like, I don't even know, like 2 sacks. I don't know what it was, but
they got 4.
Yeah, so
they got 4.
Yeah, so
they don't have anybody that's worth naming, on up front. But yeah, so yeah, I think that I love talking about this because this is kind of like where I could be petty. You know what I'm saying? Like, because here's the thing, man. Like, the one thing about the Commanders, I feel like this is a get right game because this can be a get right game for the Falcons pass rush because of how the Bears were able to get home. Like, they weren't just lining up their defensive line and saying, "Hey, y'all go get the quarterback." No, because they don't have guys that can consistently rush the passer either. And I think that they were rushing from guys from different levels. They were throwing all type of doggone nickel blitzes. They were bringing safeties up. Like, they have some aggressive safeties, some guys that can go out there and tackle, and Jaquan Brisker and stuff like that. So, I put Jesse Bates up against any safety that Chicago has and any safety that anybody has in the NFL. So I think that, Ryan Nielsen probably needs to get a little creative. Because, true enough, they've been able to, quote unquote, affect the quarterback. I hate that term. I'm so tired of using it. But to the way the defense has been playing, like, to sit up here and say, like, hey, they're working their way towards being a top half of the league in the most defensive categories. So I think that Ryan Nielsen needs to get a little creative in this game, because we saw it on Thursday night last week, that all you gotta do is put some heat on Sam Howell, and he will turn the ball over, and he will take sacks, and that offensive line will not be able to hold up. So I think that this is, of course, a get right game, but with a caveat though, because like you said, you don't just have guys saying, "Hey man, line you up over here on this right tackle and just go to work." Nah, they're gonna have to get a little bit creative, bring different level blitzes. And like, we know the secondary has been playing pretty doggone well, and we, Jeff Okudah is, put together another nice performance, and we know what AJ Terrell brings to the table. So the secondary is playing in a good way right now. So I think that it affords you to be able to get a little creative and get a little exotic with those blitzes when you're talking about, especially on 3rd and long, and when you want to get Sam Howell, you want to speed that clock up for him. Because we know that, hey, the bad boy will turn. He will turn that bad boy over for sure if you do it right.
Yeah. I'm curious to pick your brain, because some people have talked with me about this. Are you worried that Washington, like I've seen Washington's offense this year, and they're basically like, we're just going to throw the ball, and and negative plays, sacks, interceptions, whatever. We're just going to throw the ball. But I feel like they have a really good run game as well with Brian Robinson.
Yes.
And we saw what Brian Robinson did last year in this matchup. He kind of, I can't remember who it was, but it was Darren Hall. I was like, someone who's no longer on the team got embarrassed in that game, and I was like, who is that player? But yeah, it's Darren Hall. And like, we saw a real physical attack. Is there any concern for you with if Washington wants to make this a physical football game like they did the last time? Is there concern for you that they can do that? Or do you have the confidence in this Falcons defense that if someone wants to, get physical with us, we'll be able to hold our own there?
My only concern is, well, let me ask you a question. I'm not concerned that a team is going to come in and out physical this defense. My concern is, or would be, a really good offensive line that can protect the quarterback really well, and they have weapons who can get downfield. Because, like I said, you can't. I don't feel like we've come up against that, both of those, right? Green Bay is probably the closest as far as offensive line and weapons, but they still had their main guy, Christian Watson, was out. So it kind of can't really find that right combination. So if this were a combination of a really good offensive line and some guys who can break you off in one-on-one, I would be a little bit more concerned. But, now Washington has some Jahan Dawson and Terry McLaurin and all that stuff, but like I said, the offensive line isn't all that great. So I'm not too concerned for, defensively, but I do think about, hey, we do have this running back in Brian Robinson that is very physical, that can tote the rock, and we don't want to put Sam Howell in harm's way. I can see them saying, you know what? We're going to kind of scrap this whole be pass happy. Hey, and Sam Howell is not Patrick Mahomes, Eric Bieniemy. So he might need to kind of cater your offense towards what your personnel, right, and what you have, and kind of work with that. I am kind of interested and see possibly concerned about them changing up the game plan a little bit because, teams, like a lot of times when teams get backed up against a wall and they have to figure some stuff out, because Ron Rivera, like, hey, man, your job ain't guaranteed. This whole new ownership and everything like that, they are evaluating you game by game. And I think that he probably would lean on Eric Bieniemy to say, hey, man, I need you to run this ball a little bit more because you want to get that offensive line. If you're not good at pass pro, like you can come to a point where some of those offensive linemen probably hate when you call pass plays. And you want to be able to give them an opportunity to deliver the blow. And I think that, that would kind of fall into the Falcons' favor because I feel like they are really stout run defense. And those guys and the linebackers are been playing at a solid level as well. So, like I said, I do have concerns about this defense in certain matchups, but not this one.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. We'll wrap up talking about Desmond Ridder and seeing if he can stack these games, right? He had arguably the best game of his career last week against Houston. And, the question is, can he do it again? So we'll get into that with Jarvis Davis here of Locked On Sports Atlanta as we wrap up today's Locked On Falcons. So, guys, I'm sure many of you have $10 in your pocket right now. And wouldn't you love to be able to turn that $10 into $250? And you can do that with PrizePicks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you got to do is pick two or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and the more entries you make, the more money you can win, up to 25 times your money. And the great thing about PrizePicks, it's just you versus the projections, not you versus other people. It's quick, it's easy. I like to just, right before the game, go in there and pick more or less. Usually I go more on whatever Bijan's projections are. I'll ride that Mr. Walk on Water until it doesn't work anymore. Maybe you go more or less on Brian Robinson, the Robinson boys this week or whatever. Packages together. However you want, you can turn $10 into $250 by going to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. So I'm here with Jarvis Davis wrapping up this week. And of course, if you want to get more insight from Jarvis and I after the game, as in addition to before the game, as you're listening today, of course, make sure you check out the Locked On Falcons postcast. Usually a few minutes after kickoff with Tanitra, Jarvis, and myself, giving you the lowdown on what we saw each and every Sunday. And of course, if that's not enough of Jarvis, myself, and Tanitra, then you can always check the three of us out along with Tori McElhaney every Monday on Locked On Sports Atlanta with the Atlanta Football Party. But Jarvis, Desmond Ridder, right? A week ago this time we were like, man, what's going on with Desmond Ridder? And now we're like, hey, I like what's going on with Desmond Ridder. So yeah. I guess the question is, how confident are you that he can do what he did last week against Houston again this week against Washington?
We talked about this today on Locked On Sports Atlanta with Tanitra, and I was just saying, like, she asked me the same question. I was just like, is he playing at home? I mean, if he's playing at home, yeah, like that's those are my expectations, right? Like that's kind of how he's trained my eye. Like I expect him to play well at home, and we just got to figure out that thing on the road. Like I don't know what that is, but I think Arthur Smith is gonna have to tap into that to kind of see what the deal is when they go out on the road. But I think that the expectation from me for him is to play well, continue to stack games, stack good performances, because, I'm glad that he's not playing for me. I'm glad that he's not playing for you or playing for anybody else who was calling for his job. You're not saying that you were, but, a lot of people, we talking about Ridder. We started the show with talking about Desmond Ridder and what he needs to do in order to keep his job. And I think that, I continue to say what I said last week. I was like, he plays well at home. All he has to do is play well at home. And then once we get to that road situation, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, he started with a good performance last week, throwing the ball to Drake London. I love what I saw when he and Kyle Pitts. I love how they connected. Like that's what I want to see. Line up in the slot, line up as an actual tight end. I want to continue to see that type of stuff because I feel like they're starting to build some rapport there. So yeah, and also sneaking in a couple of runs from time to time. Like those have been working really well with when Arthur Smith calls those plays. So I think that throwing those different looks at defenses, different defenses. Hey, we had a Scotty Miller signing. Like, whoa, what's going on with that? And then, for me, I'm like, all right, you throwing a couple of different looks at everybody. Then y'all go out and trade for Van Jefferson? I don't know, man. They probably didn't like Corey Davis, but they doggone. I guess they still they knew that they had a need there, Aaron. Like, I got so many the scenarios in my head as far as like why they traded for Van Jefferson, but what were some of your thoughts when you first heard about that?
I like the move. I've been clamoring for them to upgrade that position for months.
No doubt. Yeah.
Add a little juice there.
Yeah.
Again, like no one's gonna mistake Van Jefferson for Tyreek Hill or anything like that. But like,
no doubt. Yeah.
He's a step in the right direction. Is
Right,
basically
yes.
what I'm like. I'm just like, can we get more speed in this building? Like, you see what Bijan does.
We understand the power forwards, in the red zone. Like get somebody that can run past some folks.
Hey, it's a great point, Jarvis, because it's like you build your receiver core like a basketball team, right?
Yep.
You got to have front court, you got to have a back court. In Atlanta, it's like we don't backcourt, guards, point guards, shooters. We don't need anything
out. We're gonna rebound.
We just post alley-oop. It's just like it's just like, hey man,
we can't change the pace up sometimes.
I get it, but like at the same time, like kind of need
everybody can't look the same, especially the wide receiver.
That's what it is. It's just like, you gotta have complementary skill sets. You know what I'm saying? Like you got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts, like. That's all you kind of need in terms of the front court. Like, like, can we get a
nice front court?
And it's just like let's get a couple of shooters. I don't know.
Like we need some wings.
Yeah, just
need some versatile guys.
Even if you just like you're not even shooting it, you just like swinging it around. Like just
what I'm saying?
I just need someone to get the ball off the court so I can throw it in the post to the guy. It's like that. Like I can't be having my 7-foot center dribbling the ball off the court, man.
Right.
Like
what I'm saying? Lining up on the outside like he's not about to run past somebody coming off a knee injury. Yeah, come on, man. Man. Yeah, I'm with you. We here, man.
Yeah,
we here on that one. Yeah.
So I look at Van Jefferson like, yeah, okay. Like you got an 18-foot jumper. Okay, I can work with that. I can work with that.
Love it. I love it. Hope y'all following along with the analogy. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're not talking about the Hawks. We're talking about the Falcons.
Yeah. I know the Hawks content is coming.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming down the line. Yeah, for sure.
It's just trying to get you guys geared up for all the great Hawks content from my guy Brad Rowland over at Locked On Hawks and of course on Locked On Sports Atlanta. So, I think we talked about these next couple of games being a test for this offensive line. It's going to be kind of a test for Desmond Ridder, right? Because as you said, like we've seen him play well at home. We got to see him keep playing well at home because like. You don't want to be in a situation where it's like, he's struggling at home too. Like that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. We don't.
That will be a problem. But it's like, okay, give me another good game at home. We got like I think 2 road games after that. Then it's gonna be like, all right, can you give me like one good road game? Just one. I just need one. Like we just start with one.
Yeah.
And then we can work our way to 2. Like.
Yeah.
So I'm just.
Nice little sequence right there. 1, 2.
Yeah. So, just building. We're just building, right? That's what.
Man, just stacking games. Man.
Yeah, that's
that's what we're doing, man. We stacking games. Bro.
Yeah. So, any other little tidbits you want to add before we duck out of here, Jarvis, about this matchup, Washington?
There's a guy, in Denver that is he's not playing tonight, and he's a healthy scratch. They just restructured his deal, so his salary for the rest of the year can be lower, and he plays edge.
Mm-hmm.
Like his name is Frank Clark. I don't know if you may or may not have heard of him. He's he can put the quarterback on the ground on 3rd down. So since we trading for random folks, like they restructured Jake's contract, some money there. Why not go get Frank Clark? He wants to win. He don't want to be on a sorry team, you know. I mean, might be interested. Maybe if you're interested, you know, Falcons. I know y'all listen to this podcast. So yeah, I know y'all listen. Just listen to your boy for once, just one time.
Okay. All right.
I got Bijan, you know, y'all listen to me. Y'all got Bijan, you know, I get it, but just listen to me once. Jalen Carter is about to be a Pro Bowler this year. Just saying.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I know to the audio listeners, like, what is happening? What's going on? What are y'all doing? It's like, are y'all gonna talk, or are you just gonna make noises? Sometimes we forget, you know.
Oh yeah,
it's video and audio.
Yes, we hope you partake in both. Like,
yes.
Don't get a little weird sometimes on here, people. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. Really do. Thank you.
All right. So that's it, guys. That's going to do it for us here on today's Locked On Falcons. Of course, we'll be back on Sunday after the game for the postcast. Of course, Monday for the Atlanta football party on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Make sure you tune to all of that as your first listen. And yeah, guys, check out the subtext. If you don't know, subtext is basically you get that one-on-one conversation with me. You know, about whatever you want to talk about. You know, if you want to talk about, you know, what cheeses you put on your charcuterie board, like I got opinions on that too. But of course, you know, the main thing I'm assuming that you guys want is, you know, my insights into the Falcons, and you'll get those, you know, like in-game, pre-game stuff on Sunday as well. And of course, you can ask questions. Link in the description below. It's $4.99 a month, but you get a 14-day free trial. And probably the biggest draw, at least based off of the people that have signed up so far, is the extended all 22 reviews. You get you know, breakdown film in addition to what we do on the regular all 22 reviews each and every Wednesday on the podcast. You get that crisp HD video on that. So that is worth your while potentially. You know, join 2 weeks. If you don't like it for free, you know, you can cancel. No problems there. So check out the subtext. And we'll be back with more illustrious content later next week to break down, you know, hopefully a win for the Atlanta Falcons. But that's going to do it for us, guys. Appreciate you, Jarvis. Till then.